Yo, hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, saan man kayo naroon sa mundo ngayon. This is Bob Reyes of the Mozilla Philippines community. This is our Wednesday edition of the MozillaPH Office Hours. Okay, so tonight we have guests, pero I just have to load this banner. Okay, where's may ginawa si Kim na bago. I have to load this one. There. Okay, cool. How are you guys? Hope you're doing fine. So let's just have a recap of what happened this week. And yep, just loading. There you go. Okay. So this is the Mozilla Philippines office hours. Tonight is July 28, 2021. Okay. So what do we have? Tonight we have two awesome guests. And I'll introduce them in just a bit. Okay. But again, for those who just tuned in and first time to listen and watch our live stream, so we do this every Wednesday night. It's just that we are quite early tonight because we have special guests. Okay. So what is Mozilla? Mozilla Philippines, Mozilla as an organization, we've been here for quite some time. We are a nonprofit organization that started as out of Netscape. So in 1998, there was this project called Mozilla.org, effectively giving away the source code of Netscape Communicator to the entire world, and that was called Mozilla. And from there, it evolved into a nonprofit organization where it is producing Firefox, the web browser that we all love. And as a nonprofit, we have a mission. So what is our mission? Our mission is to, one, build a better internet. Two, it is our to ensure that the internet will remain as a global public resource that is open and accessible to all. And finally, we want to have an internet that truly puts people first, where individuals can shape their own experiences and are empowered, safe, and independent. And then here in the Philippines, we've been operating for more than a decade. At present, we have 4 Mozilla reps currently in the country. We have 2 regional coordinators, one in the Negros Island region and the other one in Northern Mindanao. And we have 8 core members comprised of reps alumni and Pinoy Mozillians, or our volunteers. So what's keeping us busy? In the Philippines, we are localizing or translating Firefox and Firefox for Android into Tagalog, Cebuano, and Hiligaynon. If you want to participate in this effort, feel free to, later I'll show where you can sign up. Okay. We are advocating free and open source online security, privacy through means of social media, online events, and participating in the lawmaking process or procedure. We are also building a learning management system with contents related to localization, privacy, web development, and Rust programming. At present, our LMS is already being used to onboard new volunteers for localization. So as I mentioned earlier, we are best known for Firefox, the web browser. And this is our mantra. Our mantra is committed to you, your privacy, and an open web. And when we talk about Firefox, okay, we are talking about a family of products, not just the web browser. So we have Firefox Lockwise, we have Firefox Monitor, among many other things, okay? So just to clarify, the one that you see, the Firefox swirl logo on the left side of your screen, that is not going to replace the Firefox web browser logo, okay? So that logo, the swirl one, the circle one, it is the logo for the Firefox family, okay? We also have Firefox for Android and iOS. And lastly, okay, so yeah, if you haven't updated, there's Firefox 90 already. We have Firefox Relay. So what is Firefox Relay? It's a relay or an email forwarding service that we provide for free. All you need to do is sign up at relay.firefox.com so that you can protect your email addresses. So if you do not trust a website and you really need to sign up to that website, then perhaps you can create a relay email address, use it so that these websites, these services will not know your actual email address. Okay. For the past week, what we had basically, last Friday we have a session, Git 101. It was well received by the attendees. So this is a kind of session that was designed for absolute newbies, people who do not know what GitHub, and collaborating online means, okay, for developers. So we had that first session. And then also last week, we received the actual plaque from the National Privacy Commission. Maraming salamat po. So this is for being one of the finalists under the Privacy Initiative of 2021 sa Privacy Awareness Week Awards 2021. Maraming salamat po, National Privacy Commission. And for this week, upcoming events, this coming Saturday, we are going to have our online meetup. It is via Zoom at around 8 p.m. So if you want to join, please RSVP via the Eventbrite link that you see on your screens, okay? Kung hindi niyo siya makopya, just go to our social media accounts and it's posted there. Maraming salamat to the friends of MozillaPH. So thank you to Apper for sponsoring our Zoom Pro account for the entire year. It just so happened that we have our special guests for tonight are the people behind Apper.PH. So how to join MozillaPH? Madali lang. Just go to join.mozillaph.org. Sign up. This is open to all. We don't just restrict the membership to developers, to programmers, or people in the IT scene. So kahit anong background mo, pwede. Be it you're a student, a professional, an out-of-school youth, or someone just staying at home. Feel free to join us. Okay? So these are our social media touch points. We are on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and on Instagram. And how to contact us? Send us an email via info@mozillaphilippines.org or chat with us via chat.mozilla.org. Okay, chat.mozilla.org. And tonight, our guest, okay, I'll skip this. Cool. I will load them. Okay, here. Okay. Hey, Pat. Hi, Diwa. How are you? So we have the people, the co-founders of Apper.PH. Okay. So Mr. Pat Zulueta and Diwa del Mundo. So Pat and Diwa, kamusta kayo dyan?
Good evening, everyone. Evening of the 72nd, right?
Okay, yeah, Diwa, medyo ano lang, choppy yung audio.
Okay.
Oh, there. Cool. Okay. Medyo choppy ng konti yung audio.
Yes. Let me try to change my mic.
Okay, no problem.
Greet our participant audience.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. Hope you guys are doing well. It's been raining the past 2 weeks, nonstop almost. I hope everyone is staying safe and dry. And of course, everyone is staying safe. So thank you very much, Bob. And of course, the MozillaPH community for having us. It's a pleasure for Apper to be here tonight.
Maraming salamat din on behalf of our team for the support that your team is giving to our organization. Maraming salamat. Okay, so before we go to the Q&A, okay, for those who are tuning in, you may use the chat box in Facebook or in YouTube if you have questions related to cloud computing, to Apper, etc. Okay, anything that you wish to ask our guests, including if you have questions for Mozilla and Mozilla in the Philippines. Okay, so before we start, do you have any presentation or something to show our audience para maintindihan nila ano ba tong Apper na to? Saka paano ba makikinabang ang mga businesses sa cloud computing?
Yes, Bob. So we have a short video to introduce Apper, and then afterwards we have some insights to share from our previous experience. Cool. So sige. I'll go first, and then Diwa will share his insights after.
Okay, cool.
So let's start first with a short 2-minute video to get everyone warmed up to what Apper has already done the past few years. So let me just share my video now.
In the new decade, businesses are enjoying lower overall IT spend by as much as 30%. More and more businesses are adopting new technology to keep up with the ever-changing demands of their customers. Welcome to Apper. Here, we help businesses adopt innovations on the cloud and build collaborative partnerships with our clients. We have worked with our trusted partners over the years to ensure hassle-free, efficient, and seamless implementation of technology in 2 ways. First, let's meet Engage. Through this service, our cloud experts can support your team to migrate and manage workloads in the cloud and design, architect, and build applications on it. And now, meet Manage, where we do the heavy lifting for you. Our certified team of cloud specialists can manage your cloud infrastructure end-to-end so you can focus more on your core operations. Are you ready to innovate on the cloud? Let's build your innovation roadmap together. Talk to us. Visit www.Apper.PH to learn more. Apper.PH, innovating with you.
All right, so hope everyone enjoyed that short video. Now I will be sharing my slides to be able to share with you some insights which I've garnered through the past few months and of course during this pandemic. So let me share my slides now. All right, so I shared with everyone tonight, and I prepared my ideas on why you should innovate on the cloud. So why you should fully leverage the cloud to be able to deliver innovations. And of course, once again, I'm Patrick Zulueta, co-founder and director for growth of Apper Digital Inc. So a short background on myself. Of course, as you can see, I'm a multi-cloud specialist, and I'm focused on the business side of things or growth side of the cloud industry. I've spent over a decade launching and scaling financial services, fintech apps with the likes of Paymaya, Cashalo, and BPI. So 3x launched from day zero, and I've been privileged to be able to help the teams from day zero to be able to lead their product and growth teams to 2 million plus users within the first 2 years of those companies. All right, so I'd like to share with you the insights I gathered for the new decade. Over the past year, it's been challenging for everyone. And I realized that, yes, the 2020s is the decade of the digitally conscious customer now. And there are some insights that we should take note of. And hopefully you guys will learn from this for your respective businesses or who knows, for your careers as well. Okay, so we realized that 68% of customers or consumers report that COVID-19 has raised their expectations of companies' digital capabilities. So there, if before they were willing to wait for certain services, for example, or they were willing to have a certain experience, their expectations have been raised drastically thanks to the pandemic. And Forbes reported this in the Digital Brand Trends report that they recently shared. We also learned that the disruptions of 2020 have tested the capabilities of companies. And those companies which have handled this test best are those who let customers drive their innovation efforts. So another reputable source said this, the Harvard Business Review, and has mentioned that yes, a lot of companies have been tested, but some have also emerged victorious or remained victorious. And it's because they put their customers at the center of their innovation efforts. We've also seen that the majority of innovation leaders, 59% of them from the same study, Harvard Business Review, mentioned that they have increased the speed of their customer and end user innovation during the pandemic. So most of us might think things have slowed down, or because of the pandemic, it's been challenging to drive innovation, but the leaders have no excuses. They have mentioned that they've even increased the speed of their innovations and are continuing to drive customer-focused engagements. So yes, that's the reason why they've maintained their leadership. And if we'd like to follow these innovation leaders, we need to follow the 3-track approach which they have implemented, which addresses the people, process, and technology within the organization. That's how it is to drive innovation. You need to make sure that your people or your culture are ready for innovation. They have the process in place of course, to be able to drive this innovation. And lastly, that people, process are both able to take care of the technology and are able to handle it. They have the capabilities, they have the readiness, they have the openness to be able to drive it. So that's a 3-track approach. And we at Apper discovered that an innovations partner, as well as a flexible cloud infrastructure, can help your business have a balanced and efficient 3-track approach. So you might ask me, Pat, why? Why is that so? So why the cloud? All right, so CIO.com mentioned that the state of cloud computing already now is that it's been established as a core technology already, and it signals the shift from the traditional to legacy way of operating to, of course, a more digitally transformed, a more modernized approach. And the compelling reason for this is that the cloud is able to help businesses better allocate resources based on their business requirements, along with the flexibility, agility, and of course, cost efficiency gains which would be made. So not just CIO mentioned that. If I were to share with you the cloud value framework, AWS themselves interviewed almost 1,000 businesses. Take note, over 1,000 top businesses or corporations were interviewed, and they were able to be surveyed on what benefits they appreciated on the cloud. And they actually focused those innovations and those benefits on 4 key aspects or values. So the first value is cost savings. Because of the fact that you're able to better manage your resources on the cloud, as they mentioned, pay as you go, or you only pay for what resources you need. It's not a fixed cost. Then you're able to follow a OPEX model versus a CAPEX model, and you're able to enjoy a lot of cost savings. And numbers have shown that those businesses which maximize the cloud are able to appreciate at least 30% in cost savings. Second is staff productivity. Staff productivity is not just, of course, making sure you maintain or remove manual processes. What it actually shows is that when employees are empowered, then they're able to provide not just more meaningful work, but they're able to provide more impactful work. And studies have shown those companies which have innovated in the cloud are able to boost their staff productivity by almost 60%. So cost savings, 30%, staff productivity, almost 60%. That's pretty amazing, I would say. Third is operational resilience. So I think this is something that's really, really important, especially during the pandemic. Operational resilience, it might sound like a big word or a big phrase, but basically it means that a business is resilient no matter what happens. So resilience is key, as you know, and not only should the Philippines be resilient as a country, but you, yourselves, your business, your teams should also be resilient no matter what happens. Even if a pandemic happens, a typhoon happens, even if the next calamity happens, then your business is still able to remain operational and resilient. And it's not only, of course, acts of God or those uncontrollable factors. You need to be secure enough. You need to make sure that even if errors happen, even if attacks happen, your business is still able to remain resilient. So the study has shown that businesses which actually are on the cloud and are innovating in the cloud also appreciate up to 50% operational resilience benefits. And that's, of course, drastically improved as well during the pandemic. And lastly, business agility. Business agility is basically the aspect wherein businesses are able to remain agile, they're able to move fast, they're able to innovate faster. And it's a proven fact that those companies which are innovating on the cloud are able to be more agile and are able to release more enhancements, are able to basically deliver new features and, of course, functions for their applications, websites, to drive better customer experience. And those are just 4 values, but Diwa might be able to mention more due to his wider experience on the cloud. But to be honest with everyone, I've just been on the cloud for the past 2 years. I'm pretty new in the industry, but I've seen the benefits of the cloud for the businesses and the brands which I've helped launch at scale. And I really am not just a convert, but I'm a believer. I really see that the cloud is not only just for the future, but it's able to make sure you're future-proof. You're able to make sure that you're able to not just maintain your leadership, but you're able to compete. And the cloud is very important for that. All right. So lastly, I'd like to share some insights in terms of scaling on the cloud. So I realized that focusing on innovations for customer experience and of course making sure you evolve your security posture will help drive your business's growth. And you might ask me, how did we reach hyper growth for the three apps which I launched? So we saw that customer experience and innovation was essential to driving loyalty. It was really critical, and it really made sure that we would compete and, of course, stay the leader during my time. It was a very tight race in the start, and as you can see, not many of the brands which launched during that time, which was 2015, 2016, are still around today and are still, of course, maintaining their leadership and not just loyalty, but at the same time, making sure that innovations were continually happening really was critical. And at the same time, the cloud was able to help the fintechs which I helped launch scale while remaining secure and resilient. So much happened. As you can see, when you release a new brand, of course, it's prone to not just fraud, but people trying to breach your app. And despite the fact that we were moving very, very fast, you know, this is startup and the speed of startups in which we had to really release new enhancements and technologies was really, really fast. And the tech teams, of course, had challenges. Actually, on this end, I tag team with Diwa on that end. I might have focused on the growth side, while his team focused on the technology side. And despite the fact that we were very demanding in terms of how we wanted to grow and scale, the technology was able to withstand all of that pressure and withstand all of course, the resilience that we needed. So it was able to, as you can see, become a household name, and Paymaya, Kashalo, and BPI are household names already today. So that's something I'm very proud of. All right, so key takeaway, a healthy balance between innovation and evolving customer experience is key. That's really what drove the growth for the fintechs which I handled. And I'm proud to say that it's really been a successful run. And I'm continuing to see the growth of many more fintechs. And with the technologies, the capabilities, the communities that we have today, I'm confident that we'll see so much more success stories and, of course, more unicorns, which will be launched for the Philippines. So there, that ends my short insight sharing. Hopefully, you guys were able to have some key takeaways from there. And I'm looking forward to seeing your innovations and, of course, hopefully your journey in the cloud. So let's talk. Anytime you'd like to chat, feel free to message us at cloud@apper.ph. All right. Thank you.
Yun, maraming salamat. Okay. Diwa, do you have anything to present? Or
Hello? Is it better ba? Can you
oh,
hear me?
there, yeah. That's awesome. Oh,
There,
mas okay.
fantastic.
Yeah.
So I changed
Okay
my
na,
mic,
okay.
no? Umulan kasi, so mukhang ano rin, hindi rin gumana yung mic ko.
Yeah,
Ayan.
yeah.
So
That's better.
yeah, I mean, it's better. Okay. So let me share my screen, no? While
Sure,
I'm
sure.
sharing my screen, I would like to use this opportunity, of course, to thank Bob and Mozilla Philippines, no, for inviting us. This is something close to me because I've been a Firefox user ever since, no Firebird days. Started by journey on open source, no, early on the late 90s. Fortunate enough, kahit mga nasa 11, 12 years old ako, I was able to get my hands on Linux, Red Hat, ng time na yun, tsaka Mandrake Linux, and I do remember Mozilla before as a all-in-one suite. Yeah, it's a browser,
Yeah.
email, before naging Firebird. No? I forgot meron pang previous name yun, but I do remember Firebird yung
The original was Phoenix. Bago naging,
Yun, Phoenix, yeah.
it was
Dati
Phoenix.
nadaanan ko. Naalala ko yung
Ginagamit
days na
namin lagi sa
kinukumpara.
trivia yun eh. Ano yung unang pangalan ng Firefox bago naging Firefox?
Yung Phoenix. Yeah, I like it. And I've been using, since nag-stabilize na as Phoenix, naging Firebird, Firefox na ngayon, no? And been using it ever since, no? Hindi na ako nagpalit. And
Maraming
now
salamat.
I'm proud to be a regular donor. So I donate to the Mozilla Foundation monthly. Ngayon,
Thank you.
Kasi I believe in the mission, no, of Mozilla talaga, and been supporter ever since, no. So happy to have the community rin and here in supporting the initiatives, no. And kami naman will support you as much as we can. So since Ayan. Been using Firefox then. I mean, nag-run pala tong StreamYard sa, ano, ko, sa Firefox. So
Yes,
I'm very
yes.
happy.
Marami, yeah,
Ayan.
kaya love namin ng StreamYard eh. Hindi mo na kailangan lumabas ng Firefox. So, everything is here. So,
ayan,
cool.
sige. So let me quickly share some things. No? So Pat mentioned some of the
Sure.
realizations.
Go ahead. Yeah.
The realizations we had this past several years serving mga customers. No? Okay, so let me interview. Okay. And, can you see my screen now?
Yes.
All right. So I'll be sharing some of the things that I'm observing, no, and I'm also seeing that will happen in 2020s, no, 2021 and beyond from a cloud computing context. But let me give some background muna. So I mentioned kanina my history in terms of Linux using Mozilla, no? But that was when I was young. And professionally, of course, it kind of drove me to IT and computer science. And over the past 15 years, I've been in the industry mainly as a software engineer, working on various startups, various firms. And so eventually that got me into the cloud. I started my journey on the cloud early 2010s. Fortunate enough that I got hired into this company that was using AWS back then, and I saw the growth of AWS and cloud as a whole, as the industry, and that drove me also to work on my cloud community efforts. So I've been a cloud community leader in the AWS User Group Philippines from 2014 to 2019. Now naman it's more of me supporting the communities, no? Happy to support the communities. So still there pa rin naman, pero more of a sponsor na ngayon. Because of my involvement in the cloud, that also drove my journey naman into learning, to acquiring skills, to certifications, and also other enablement endeavors, which resulted me to achieve certifications in AWS, Google Cloud, and also in CISSP. So let me quickly, I know some of you guys, this is something very standard, but in case it's first time you've heard about the cloud, it has been there for quite some time. So I'm going to use cloud and AWS in this context interchangeably. Primarily AWS or Amazon Web Services started the industry. So it actually launched back in 2006. That's more than 14 years ago already. So it has already proven its value. Now, in a nutshell, cloud computing, you can think of it as a way to deliver IT resources on demand over the internet with pay-as-you-go pricing. So that's it's kind of different, because usually when you think about infrastructure, you think about the physical infrastructure, the servers, the data centers, and of course the network connectivity. So that's the physical IT infrastructure. But cloud computing essentially allows you to deliver services and apps over the internet. So they kind of made it powerful, because you're essentially offloaded from the work of physical setup. So I won't go through this masyado, but essentially if you hear about things like IaaS, infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, SaaS, application integration services, and mga functional service, these are types of cloud computing. So they mga categories. And of course, it really depends on you, on how low you want to go. So if you want to deal with the foundational or building block services, use more of the IaaS services, like example, the Amazon EC2 or a Google Cloud Compute Engine. If you go higher to the stack, of course, you can use more abstracted services like mga PaaS services, or if you want to be a user na lang, like say if you're using a particular software over the browser, that's more of a SaaS. And if you're a developer naman, of course, you can use mga application integration services, mga queuing systems, mga pub subsystems, and also mga PaaS and containers. Okay, so let me give you some context why cloud really helped a lot of companies this past decade, itong 2010s. Essentially, because of the cloud, it lowered the cost to start a business. So this is a quote from Werner Vogels of Amazon. He's the CTO. Essentially, it brought down the cost from $5 million down to $50K US. So So essentially what it means is if you want to start a digital business, you just need to have 50,000 if you want to start. No? And previously, it takes a lot of capital. And because of the cloud, it allowed a lot of companies, a lot of startups to do something. And that basically fueled the apps that we use. No? Yung mga sumikat na apps natin and a lot of the apps available in the app marketplaces and also websites that we use. So quick perspective, no? AWS, when I started my journey, I vividly remember yung AWS Management Console is very simple lang. No? It has less than 25 services. Very simple lang, super simple lang gamitin. No? Kahit sino can easily just go into the console, use the services. By the time that I gained some experience already in the cloud, it's about 60 services. And during this time, we also very active in the AWS user group community kasi nga, it's getting complex na. No? So hindi siya ganun ka-simple. And I would say now, it's very complex. No? It's more than 200 services in AWS alone. And if you look at, of course, the other cloud service providers, you have a lot of options na. It's not only AWS. You have, of course, Google Cloud Platform. You also have Microsoft Azure. You have Alibaba Cloud, no? And other cloud players. No? So there are a lot of options these days. And it gets very complex really fast. I would say that the cloud is something that you can get yourself or your head into very quickly. But once you get inside, you realize that it's way complex, no? Very hard to master. If you look at, let's say, the AWS Management Console, you can see that everything that you need to build innovations are accessible with a click or an API call away. So everything that you need, let's say if you need, of course, the standard IaaS services, core services, security services, but you also have specialized services for, let's say, machine learning, if you want to build or add intelligence to your applications, IoT, customer engagements. No? So all of these are available to you. So it's not about virtual server storage or database anymore. So you'll be surprised. No? Actually, more services are being developed on categories such as machine learning, management and governance, compliance, and security services. So you'll see here that the cloud is not about virtual service anymore, not about virtual machines. No? It's all about building. No? Meron na siyang building. Think about it as about building blocks that will allow you to build innovations. Another common question that we get naman, okay, we want to try the cloud, or I want to get myself into this cloud journey, but how about security, governance, and compliance? So it's a very good question. So essentially, you need to understand it from a shared responsibility model. Essentially, AWS or a cloud service provider in general is responsible for security of the cloud. So you think of it as the physical infrastructure, the network connectivity, and making sure it's up and running is provided by is responsible of the cloud service provider. Anything on top of that, that includes managing your data, managing and configuring your access control, the operating system, firewall and network configuration, and data protection through encryption, network traffic protection. That's what you call responsibility for security in the cloud. No? So you're given tools, diba? But overall, as a customer, you're the one responsible. So yun yung clear na delineation. No? And once you understand this will help you innovate kasi you can focus on building your apps, diba? Securing your app from the app layer, and you let the CSP manage the infrastructure underneath it. Yeah. Philippine context. Okay, so maraming nangyayari ngayon from the Philippines context. No? And so ngayon medyo mas understood na yung mga data security standards. No? So may mga resources such as the AWS Compliance Center, for example. You can look at the various regulatory requirements. Let's say if you're working for a bank or you're working on a non-bank financial institution, a fintech, you can use what are the guidelines, no, from the tech point of view. Diba? Kasi marami tayong mga types of cloud. Of course, you have the public cloud, which I mentioned, but there are also the other models for delivery, like private cloud, hybrid cloud, or even community cloud. No? And there are certain provisions, no? Especially if you need to align with the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. All of them are accessible online, and there are guides to help you. At the same time, I would say na mas marami na rin tayo, no? If you're in the tech industry, if you're a developer, engineer, no? Mas marami na rin tayong responsibilities. That includes making sure that personally identifiable information that we handle through the various resources that we manage and configure are all protected. No? So we need to have context and compliance with the Philippines Data Privacy Act of 2012. And if you need, of course, a higher level of data security, very specific in the financial services industry, you can look at the payment card industry data security standards. Now, if you're starting your journey, no? So let me quickly give you some ideas. So you might be a business or finance professional looking to migrate to the cloud or have heard of this. No? So it's good to understand the context of cost. So through cloud economics. Now, one thing to think about the cloud is you're shifting away from a capex model, which is essentially, think of it as parang buying, no? Buying a laptop or buying a machine, diba? So yun yung alam natin as a consumer. But if you look at it from a business perspective, yung capex na sinasabi, you need to shift it from to a consumption model, which is operational expenditures. So it means that you think of the compute, storage, network requirements and resources more of, think of it like electricity, diba? You use electricity, you pay a bill at the end of the month. Diba? So ganun lang din. So if you need it, you use it. If you need more, then you pay more. One thing to consider is, since I mentioned, no, medyo naging super complex na yung cloud ngayon, don't go head first. We've seen mga implementations that kind of went head first with the cloud, and usually it resulted to more expensive na implementation. So it's ideal to build your organization's capability first, have an understanding, enable yourself, even consider some certifications, but at least you have a baseline knowledge. If you're an executive or technology leader and might be already on the cloud, so optimize, automate. If you have workloads already in the cloud, let's say if you have a monolithic app and you're looking to have a more cloud-native setup, so consider re-architecting to serverless or container technologies. This will help you better manage your resources, at the same time, better prepare your users or better prepare your platform applications for surges, for spikes, no? And having a more microservices type of architecture will allow you to anticipate yung mga failures and other unforeseen events. And it's also good to explore mga more advanced capabilities. So you might have heard of AI and machine learning for the past couple of years, no? So nandun siya sa point na it kind of mas understood na what it can do. So as a tech professional, it's also good to enable yourself. At the very least, you know what machine learning can do and how it can help your users, no? Okay, so basically the things I mentioned kind of reflected what happened in the past decade, which is the 2010s. But of course now, nasa 2020s tayo, di ba? Ano ba yung mga trends? So let me give you some insights. This is based on our experience working with customers. And I hope this will give you some ideas, no, where things are going. So you can prepare and also give you some ideas on how to innovate. One thing that I noticed is hardware, the cloud, the physical infrastructure powering the cloud platforms are getting closer to the users. So we're now hearing things about edge computing. Essentially, the facility, no, to run your compute, storage, and network resources are getting closer to you. So that means faster performance, no, lower latency. In some cases, the edge computing environments and platforms are built into the telco network. So it means that mas mabilis, diba? Kasi traditionally, if you talk about public cloud, and in a Philippine context, no, something that I want to share, traditionally, we don't have a public cloud provider or public cloud service provider that has a region here in the Philippines, no? So walang facilities. The closest we have before are edge locations. And so this is like more of a CDN, content delivery network, that will allow us to download video streams, mga images, assets, no, faster to, as I said, the physical infrastructure powering these services are in the Philippines, in Manila, for example. But now, may mga options na, you know, edge computing. Some companies can also leverage the physical infrastructure that the cloud service provider has, no? So example, AWS Outposts or Microsoft Stack, Azure Stack, no? So they can work with certain enterprises or if you're a company that's very big, you want to have the physical infrastructure, but you want it to be fully managed. So you just provide the power in the network. You can have the same capability na on your on-premises location. So getting closer to the users, that's one thing that we're noticing. Another good news pala, no? So if you guys are hearing about Alibaba Cloud, for example, Alibaba Cloud has formally announced that it's going to have a public cloud region here in the country. So magkakaroon ng Alibaba Cloud Philippine region. So I think it's a powerful capability. So it means that if you have workloads that needs to be in the Philippines, no, it needs to be in a country, then if you have a Philippine region, then it's a powerful capability. Kasi nga, the data is here in the country. So pag may mga concerns about where the data gets stored, noise na country, at the same time the latency, di ba? Kasi mas mabilis. IoT devices are another trend we're seeing, no? So we've seen it in the past decade also, yung mga potential ng IoT, but I would say ngayon medyo mas ano siya, no? Mas mainstream. In fact, you can just go to a mall and buy IoT devices now. If you want mga smart bulbs, of course, to control, no? Automatic mag-iilaw yung ano mo, yung light mo, or that to be scheduled, smart assistants, of course, and various mga devices that will help your life better. No? Now you can see more IoT devices or IoT-powered mga platforms as we move along. I'm looking forward for more B2B use cases, especially on the agriculture, no? And also my factory automation. That's what I'm seeing. Now, to power all of this, I think one thing to note would be the network connectivity. In order to enable a lot of IoT, think about let's say if you have 1,000 IoT devices, 1 million IoT devices, paano mangyayari yan from a network perspective? At may magkakaroon ng IP addresses, di ba? Will it be behind a NAT gateway, a NAT appliance, or all of them ba will be publicly accessible? Paano yung mga concerns na yan, di ba? Kasi magkakaroon ka ng bottleneck at some point from a network perspective. That's where 5G comes in, di ba? As you guys know, 5G is the next generation cellular technology, no? Coming from LTE. And one of the things that 5G has is the ability to support IoT, no? And that will enable us to have more IoT devices at scale. It's actually getting closer now, as you guys might heard in the social media or even in various channels. Telcos are rolling out in the country, so it will enable us to have more exciting applications and experiences. Okay, so the network rollouts happening already, and I foresee in the next few years you'll see more exciting capabilities. So key takeaways. So building on the cloud maximizes innovation, development, and provides faster time to market. It's more than just an infra. It contains everything that you need to build meaningful fintech innovations and other innovations that might involve newer technologies. So just remember that yung technologies come in waves, diba? And the next wave has started already. So things about technologies such as 5G, edge computing, machine learning, IoT. So just a matter of adjusting, adapting, but also ask yourself, what are you going to build next? And so thank you, and start building on the cloud.
Yun, maraming salamat, Diwa. Okay? So, may tanong lang ako sa inyong dalawa ni Pat. Paano nagsimula yung Apper? Bakit nyo, ano yung naisip nyo, bakit kayo gumawa ng company na tulad ng Apper?
Sige. So maybe you can start how it, paano ba nag-start essentially? Essentially, it's more of a realization then. So as Pat shared his experiences in the industry. So we have a lot of experience working with companies that are innovating, no? Trying to introduce new services, no? In particular in the fintech or financial services industry. And ako naman, since I've been in the tech for quite some time, I've seen some patterns na rin. Ano ba yung mga challenges, pain points ng mga tech companies. And I was fortunate also, no, to be in the cloud journey early on. So napansin ko lang on maraming challenges kasi to come up with innovations, diba? Minsan you have an idea, but how do you get actually up and running? The execution part is critical, no? And I think that's one of the things that we were able to do in the companies we've worked for. Now, eventually, we try to do certain things and realize maybe I think we need to help more companies, no? Kasi once you have the experience of innovating, I think that can be that can help a lot of companies. Kasi there might be a lot of innovators already, but getting it started, no? How to do it, how to execute, diba? How to coming up with a vision or idea is one thing, but at the end of the day, it comes with execution. And I feel like we have a lot of experience on the execution part. Kasi mga trial and errors and mga failures in the past kind of help us build the tool set, the toolbox already. So much better positioned to help other companies. So that's one of the motivations to start the company, Apper. Pat, you want to share your insights?
Sure. For me, it was pretty simple. We left our very comfortable, prestigious corporate roles, Diwa and myself, and of course our other co-founders, to be able to found Apper. And we really believed it because we wanted to make the Philippines a more competitive space for technology. And one of the things we saw was a lot of the tech teams are really busy already. They're busy either firefighting or they're busy with their core technology and operations. So what about innovations? What about thinking long term? What about thinking outside the box? Typically, these companies, because of the fact that their teams are so busy, they're able to put together special projects teams, and all of the special projects teams are able to achieve things. It takes longer because, of course, it's a special project versus it being their key KPI. So Apple usually comes in, and we're the innovations partner, and we're really the ones who drive that KPI. And all we think about is how do we innovate faster, more efficiently, and of course, making sure that we put the customers at the center of everything. So we're able to look from the outside, and of course, make sure that we have a outside the box approach as well. So because of that, it's been a successful ride so far with our customers, and thankfully, we're seeing more innovations being driven in the Philippines. So that's something we're very, very proud of.
Cool. Kasi totoo yun. Lokohan nga namin sa mga kaibigan ko, sabi, sa Pilipinas, yung mga businesses, mahilig gumawa ng ad hoc committee. Di ba? Pagka merong kailangan, gawa tayo ng ad hoc committee ganito. Tapos yun nga, wala rin patutunguhan kasi nga nawawala yung focus nila sa business and etc. Okay? So, ito naman is, karamihan ng kaibigan ko, pagka may negosyo, tapos ang sinasabi ko is, they just put their business onto the cloud. Ang una nilang sinasabi is, one, mahal sa cloud. Pangalawa, nakakatakot. Kasi nga nasa cloud do yung data nila. So, how do you manage people or businesses that you talk to, and ganito yung unang reaction nila when they hear about the cloud?
Sige. So let me take a crack on that. So I think those are valid concerns naman in terms of cost. So one thing we observed working with a lot of customers from the early stage startups, yung tipo, okay, may idea ko, I want to make it happen, to the enterprises. So the cost, of course, is something critical. No? Now, I think we need to look at it from a couple of things. One is to really using cloud efficiently. So, of course, you need to really understand it, the economics of cloud. So that's one thing I mentioned in my presentation. So looking at it from a cloud economics point of view, what are the ways you can save? No? And generally, you need to look at the ways that you can really save. Diba? Since the properties of the cloud is pay as you go, you pay with what you use, you need to leverage on that. So it means that you need to have the right architecture, right mindset to approach it, so you can really leverage. Yung mga companies na could be serving millions of users, but they only pay very cheaply. You know, primarily kasi they're using the cloud way of doing things. Now, usually, saan ba siya nagiging mahal? Nagiging mahal if you're overpaying. Yan. So for example, traditionally, if we build applications, for example, we think about servers. Of course, the servers, just like ating computer na ginagamit, hindi naman siya 100% utilized all the time, di ba? Hindi naman 100% utilizing CPU or memory. Now, every time that you don't fully utilize your machine, essentially you're burning money. And that's where the cost comes in, di ba? So, ayan. So it's mostly really managing your costs, looking at it from a different perspective, utilizing more modern tools, di ba? Para you can really utilize. And the security part, of course, medyo na-touch kayo a bit kanina, is the shared responsibility. Now, we also need to think about kasi what is the cost ba of physically or the maintaining a physical infrastructure, diba? So let's create an example. Let's say if you're a user, meron kang phone, bumili ka ng, let's say, latest na flagship phone, and you store the photos, yung photos ng family mo, and you have, let's say, 7 years worth of photos. And one day, na-snatch siya, nanakaw. Diba? So that's a physical, ba? Physical yan, nanakaw. Na pag nanakaw siya, it's gone. Wala na. Diba? So, wala na yung photos mo. And I've seen this from a lot of people, from friends, or even family members. Nung nawala yung phone nila, wala na. So ano yung cost? okay, in cost is the flagship phone, pero more importantly, the priceless amount of the data, di ba? Okay lang yung flagship phone, pero yung mga photos ng ating mga family members, you can't replace that, di ba? But what if you pay na lang, let's say, 200, 300 pesos per month to upload your photos on the cloud, di ba? So everything, then it becomes it's a different conversation. All of a sudden, you have access to your data, even physically manakaw, diba? So physical security, hindi mo naman siya isipin kasi at least the very least you have copy of the data. And so that's also true from a business point of view naman. So what if yung data center mo or even your office mo nasunog, diba? Paano yung data, diba? Yung accounting data, your customer data, diba? So there's always a risk. But one thing we've seen, if you secure it correctly, diba? You're provided tools naman to encrypt your data, to make sure that it's protected. You have the access control mechanisms and all of these things. And if the concern is the data, where the data resides, now you even have mga public cloud regions na CSPs that are building on the Philippines. And if you need more security, you can even get the physical infrastructure. You get AWS Outposts, Microsoft Azure Stacks, all these things, diba? So you have everything covered from a security context.
There, cool. Okay, so sabi ni Erwin Pacheco, well said about cost overhead comparison. So thank you. There. So yung isa pa sa pinaka-common kasi na-encounter ko as a consultant and also someone from the tech community is businesses want to see where their data kasi is going to be stored. Yun yung minsan dilemma ng mga old school. So pasintabi po doon sa mga sa mga old school. Yung gusto nilang makita na saan yung data nila, di ba? Parang ako minsan mahirap i-explain na it is in the physical location, hindi mo na nakikita, di ba? Parang hindi, gusto ko may server kami para makita ko. So, how do you explain to people like this?
Sige, I can answer it, but I want to, siguro si Pat naman can also give some thoughts doon. Paano ba natin, I think that we've heard that question before from our customers then.
All right, so my crack at that business side of things, it's more of who has access to the data and who's securing that data. At the end of the day, with the shared responsibility model, the cloud providers are, of course, responsible for the security of the cloud, and customers or the users of the cloud platform are responsible for the security of the data or the aspects within the cloud. That being said, if you have access to the physical server itself, then how will the cloud providers be able to secure that physical, of course, access and data point? But then again, there are already now very unique cases wherein you have direct access to a physical public cloud or private cloud type of aspect. But if you're able to secure your data as well as information on the public cloud and you're able to limit the access, then it's more secure than actually having it physically. Why? Because if you have it physically, then you have to think about so many things, like you have to put a security guard there, who has access to the physical location, making sure that you actually have the right access codes only that are provided to certain people. What if somebody's access codes, or what if somebody knows the actual PIN, for example, to the server location? So that's also something that you have to think about. So one of the good things as well with the public cloud is you're able to remove those issues. And all you have to think about is, of course, making sure that your access is secure and you're able to, of course, configure it properly. That's all you have to think about. So, so Josh actually mentioned a comment that it's quite funny, but to be honest, although it might be funny, it's true. Some might still feel confident and secure that, oh, I can physically see something and it's more secure because I can see it, I can touch it, I can feel it, versus the public cloud or of course, cloud today, the modernized versions wherein you actually don't see anything physically. All you see is, of course, your console and your tools online. So surprisingly, it's more secure, even better now. So that's my crack at it. Diwa, feel free to add.
Yeah, so very quickly lang. So well said, Pat. So I guess for ating mga community members or maybe in the industry na talagang ano pa, no? Medyo traditional pa sa physical, yung gusto mo yung makita. Maybe what we can do, we can put na lang a decoy server. Lagyan natin doon. Kasulat cloud server. So para at least, okay, sir, nandiyan po yung data. Basta nandiyan yung data, di ba? Pero kidding aside, cloud service providers have recognized that. No? For some people talaga, okay, I want to be, okay, nandito sa data location. So the options, extending the public cloud capability into your on-premises. So stuff like AWS Outpost. Essentially, you still use the same AWS Management Console and same APIs. May extend siya. So yung EC2 tatakbo, for example, doon na sa isang rack na nandun yung mga physical servers ng AWS. Makikita mo na, sorry, ito na talaga yung data. Di ba? So, of course, that's more expensive kasi you're using the hardware. But so that's the answer doon. Another context din would be hybrid architectures. So if you want to have the database on premises talaga, of course you can have hybrid naman. Probably your front end or front applications will be on the cloud kasi mas maraming capacity. But the core data naman needs to be in the Philippines. So for example, from the context of the financial services industry, if you're regulated, let's say by BSP, merong provisions doon you can't just transfer, let's say your core system, banking core system sa public cloud, diba? Hindi pwede. You need to put it on a private cloud or your on-premises managed, but you can host certain workloads on the cloud. So hybrid connectivity is the key there. No? Yan. So I hope I give more context. Pero yeah, it's a hard talaga. Hard question.
Yeah.
Ako decoy na lang.
Ano yun?
Decoy.
True to life eh. Minsan pa nga, mahirap mag-explain sa kamag-anak eh, di ba? Pagka nagtanong sila about the cloud, they know that you know IT stuff, but minsan ayaw nila maniwala sa'yo. It happened many times to me. I don't know with you guys, pero ako feeling ko kulang yung oras natin for this kind of discussion. We really need to have a part 2 of this sometime soon. Marami pa akong gustong itanong eh. And yeah, next time, I will make sure that I will have the team with me here. So, any final thoughts before we go and conclude this live stream? Where do you see the cloud computing in the scene in the Philippines, say 5-10 years from now, and how will innovation be how will be the cloud part of innovating in the different kinds of industries and businesses?
So ako yung what I see, no? So hoping na rin, because I know yung mga innovators and mga tech people here, no? I'm hoping na we don't talk about virtual servers anymore in 5 to 10 years time. So if you want something, just build it. Ganun na lang. You know it's going to work. I mean, you have all the infrastructure, all of the network advances. Kailangan to build innovation. So it's more of hoping na more of a builder and more innovative, innovation-driven mindsets coming up. A lot of things will happen in 5 years. No? So 2020s na, we need to prepare.
Cool.
All right. For me, it's simple. If you want to be a leader, if you want to be competitive, if you really want to be a part of this new disruption that's happening, which is, of course, happening in 2020s, led, of course, by not just the pandemic, but the digitally conscious customer, then you really need to maximize not just innovations, but you really need to maximize the public cloud. And that will allow you to make sure that your business is agile, resilient, at the same time, your team is able to maximize all of its opportunities. So I'm looking forward to seeing more success stories. And again, thank you to Bob and the MozillaPH team for having us here today. And looking forward to discussing innovation stories as well as, of course, roadmaps with more people.
Ayun. Maraming salamat, Team Apper.PH, Pat Zulueta, and Diwa del Mundo. Maraming salamat din for the support that your team is sharing to the tech community and particularly to the Mozilla Philippines community. Maraming salamat sa inyong dalawa.
Maraming salamat din and good evening everyone.
Our pleasure.
Magandang gabi sa
Stay
inyo.
safe, everyone.
Ingat kayo at kita tayo soon.
Ingat.
Bye-bye.
Kita-kits, everyone. Bye.